Hello, everyone. Here we are again for the Tuesday-Thursday class. For those of you in the Monday-Wednesday class, just quick word of explanation. So, Tuesday morning, I woke up with just a very sore throat, and the Stoner Health wanted me to just take the excess precaution and stay home until it dissipates, and everything seems good for a couple days. So I wanted to do this class. Still wanted you to be in person because I don't want to take away from your normal practice time for the class, and I just think it's good to be together, and you can kind of talk to your neighbors a little bit, ask a few questions if you want some extra help or have someone to look over things. I do want to encourage you to do a little bit of interaction if it's helpful, without being close and without talking too loudly. We still want to observe distancing as much as we can. So, and then I want you just to have this opportunity a planned opportunity to go through this, because I know if I sent you this video separately, you'll say with very good intentions, of course, like, I'll do that later, I'll watch that later, and I'll sit down at a piano and do it. But I also know that it's hard to hold yourself to it. And so you have this class time, you're to be here, so you're here, and you're going through it, and then you can still do your regular practicing afterward. So that's I will show you some things, and I'll give you some time to sit and work through them. I might run away in between for a couple of minutes, but you just keep working when it's time. So, a few things I want to do. I want to start just by reviewing all of the minor 5-finger patterns. We've done them all, starting major and then the minor. So now I just want to cut out the major, just do the minor. And I just want you to use this time to see where you are. So I'm going to play along. I want you to play along with me and see how quickly you can pull up each minor 5-finger pattern. I'm going to have an assignment. I'll talk about the assignment after. But I'm going to want you to kind of be able to pull out all of these minors pretty quickly. So let's start with, we'll go around the circle of fifths, starting with A minor. So, hands together. I won't ask you for the note names this time. Hopefully you have a good handle on that. So, A minor to start. Ready, and go, and... to E minor, starting on the 5th now. Same fingering, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the right hand, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the left hand. E minor, ready, and go, and... You are welcome to do this silently. You don't have to do it all aloud as a group, because I want you to be able to see how you're doing. So plug in right now if you aren't. I'll just give you a second there. So our next one is B. B as in Beverly, minor. Here we go. Ready, and go, and... And the chord. Fifth note is F sharp. Here is F sharp minor. Ready and go. C sharp, C sharp. Ready and go. G sharp minor. Just wait till we're doing the G sharp minor scales. Ooh, those are fun. That won't be till 286. Second semester, second year. G sharp minor. Ready and go. That one, of course, could also be A flat minor. So here's D sharp minor or E flat minor. Since we're not saying the note names, doesn't matter, same thing. D sharp, E flat minor. Ready and go. Flat minor or A sharp minor. I don't know of any piece of music in A sharp minor. But one way or the other, it's possible. A sharp, B flat minor. Ready and go. Takes us to F minor. F minor. Ready and go. C minor. We're very close. C minor. Ready and go. G minor. G minor. Ready and go. Last we have D minor. D minor. Ready and go. And that takes us around the circle of fifths. So the assignment I'm going to have for you this week, I'm going to ask you to pull up a random number generator. If you just Google random number generator, it shows up, like Google has its own. And you can just change the setting to the range from 1, make it to 12. And I want you to have the random number generator give you 3 different numbers. And I will have a list in the assignment that will correspond 1 through 12 to one key. And so those are the 3 minor five fingers that I want you to play for me. I want you to, in the video, show me the random number generator giving you those numbers. So it's not just choose 3 randomly and practice them a lot. I want you to be able to pull out any one of these 12. This is the second week we've been working on them, and they're very, very closely related to the majors that we've already spent time with. So I don't think that's too unreasonable. So I want them to be genuinely 3 random ones that you play for me. That's exactly how I choose these scales, 5-finger patterns, or whatever, for your exams. Is I just have a random number generator, and I have a list pre-decide, what number is which key. So that's something I'm going to ask you to do. Let's see. Take about 2 minutes, and I want you to review 3 specific 5-finger patterns so well that you can go from one to the next to the next. And those 3 are D minor, G minor, and A minor. G minor, D minor, A major. Did I say minor before? I meant major. Okay, last time. I have it right. D minor, G minor, A major. Those 3. Right in a row. Right? Take a few minutes and until you feel comfortable with that. I'll be right back. Look outside for a minute. Neighbor's house. A few more seconds on that. Okay, so now I'd like you to turn to page 83. Some of you might have seen that coming. Thanks to some of the students in the Monday, Wednesday section who emailed that to me. Really appreciate it. Since when I left campus on Tuesday, I was expecting to come back the next day. And I'm sorry, when I left campus on Monday, I expected to come back the next day. So I didn't bring any books home. So we're working through that. Okay, so this is another ensemble piece, but it's also part harmonization, and it's also part improvisation. And also sight reading. Well, sort of sight reading. So you'll notice only one of the parts, yes. Only one of the parts is actually complete, which is part one. Part one is the melody. The rest of the parts are the harmonization parts, and they're quasi improvised. Quasi improvised. If you notice above the melody line, they have chords written in. And you'll notice, what are those chords? Sorry. Usually my camera is up, but I have my iPad flipped to charged, so the camera's down here, and I'm not used to looking down. So it probably looks weird. I'm always looking at myself, not the camera. You'll notice above the melody there are chord symbols. D with a lowercase m, that stands for D minor. G with a lowercase m stands for G minor. An A by itself, or any letter by itself, means major. So they only indicate they only indicate minor chords, or if it happens to be diminished or augmented or something, they'll write that in too. But if it's just a letter by itself, it's just that chord. So the idea is we're playing from chord symbols. This is more like a pop music way of notating chords. A lot of the time, if you're just reading, if you're reading a pop music, you might have the melody written out with the words, and then just the chord letters written in. So this means that they want each part to be notated for 2 beats by the chord that is indicated. So if you look at part 2, the first measure, beats 1 and 2 is simply a broken D minor chord descending. So you start at the top and you go down. So that's the opposite of how we have done the broken chord, but nothing wrong with that. And then the part 2's sole responsibility is to play the descending broken chord in whichever key it's in the same rhythm. So you notice the first 2 measures they have. Since there's no other chord indicated for beats 3 and 4, it's assumed that you keep repeating the same chord you just did. So D minor happens twice. Next measure is G minor, so a descending G minor broken chord. Then a descending A major, back to D minor. D minor again, and then they have the 5th measure written in because it changes the pattern. Okay, pretty straightforward. Look at part 3. Part 3 is notated in the grand staff, which means we're using 2 hands. So in part 3, think about which notes of the 5-finger pattern each hand is playing. The left hand is simply playing the first note and the 5th note. The whole way through, whichever chord is indicated, the left hand plays 1st and 5th. Note, not finger. The right hand is playing the 1st and 3rd solid. 1st and 3rd. 1st and 3rd of G minor. 1st and 3rd of A major. So both of your hands are simply moving kind of parallel. You move from D minor to G minor to A major, or whatever the pattern might be. And that gives you any of the parts. Now the tricky thing is, it's better to move one hand at a time, like I just did, rather than both hands suddenly. Because if I kept my left hand here through this whole measure, I don't have much time to move otherwise. So I'm moving my left hand in the rest, right hand moves in the rest. That's called moving in time. We're using rests to our advantage. So, what I'm interested in right now is for you to be able to play through part 1 by itself, the melody. Part 2 by itself, the broken chord descending. And part 3 by itself, whole way through. So I'm going to give you some time to work on that to get a good foundation. Part 4, you don't have to worry about. But I do want you to feel good about parts 1, part 2, and part 3. So I'll give you a little while to work at that. And then at the end, I'll, probably in about 10 minutes, I will give you the opportunity to play through that with me so that you can kind of test yourself. So, work on those parts 1, 2, and 3, reading from the chord symbols for parts 2 and 3, continue the pattern, and I'll check back in with you in a little bit. Okay, so let's pause for a minute and still by yourself, but play along with me and see how you are. Even if you did not get a chance to start part three, or you decide to only focus on part three because it's the maybe busiest, whatever the case may be, play each part along with me. If you feel extremely comfortable, then play a different part with me. While I play part one, you play part three. And just trade parts that you're practicing part of the duet. But regardless, try to keep up. Try to stay with me with a part. So I'll do part one to start with. This will be our quarter note. Allegro does not matter. You can't have allegro until you have steadiness. So fast, but stopping and fixing the tempo or not the right rhythm is not allegro. So here we go. 1, 2, and go. Okay. Now let's try part two. So they do say, it says 8VA throughout. That means an octave higher. That's especially important if you're playing like as a duet. It's kind of how they intend like parts 1 and 2 to be on one piano, perhaps. Part 3 and 4 to be on a second. We're not going to do that, obviously. But we can do it an octave higher anyways. So here's part 2, or if you want to start a different part, you by all means. So 1, 2, 3, 4, go. Rest. D minor, sorry. Apologize for that note. Always goes out of tune on my piano. Much quicker than any others, but whole piano needs a tuning soon. All right, so here's part 3. Part 3. So ready and no, sorry. 1, 2, ready, go. Great. There we are. All right, we got some time. Let's do one last thing. I want you to go to page 76, 77. I think it goes into 78 too, if I'm not mistaken. We have some sight reading here. And I want to mess with this sight reading a little bit. I think one of the best ways to get better at sight reading is just to, obviously do it, but make it harder. Making it harder is a good plan. So what I want to do, one of the most common rhythm problems that we hear is in 3/4 time, when 3/4 time is new. And because what happens is that when we start playing music, start playing an instrument, we play so much in 4/4 time or 2/4 time. So there's an even number of beats per measure. And we get so used to that when we see something like 3/4 and we're supposed to play an odd number of beats in a measure, we just automatically try to turn it into even 4 beats or 2 beats. So I want to actually push us in that direction. I want to purposefully add a beat at the end of each measure. So we're going to play page 76, number 1. Let's play the last note as a half note, except for measures 4 and 8, in which case it's just a whole note. So let's turn the last note of each measure into 2 beats instead of 1. Let's try that. Number 1 is in a 5-finger pattern. It is in an A 5-finger pattern. Notice the fingering. You might think, I'm starting on C and I'm going down, so I'm going to start with 5 in the right hand, 1 in the left hand. That's not going to help us. There's finger 3 written on the top of each, or on each note to start. Start with finger 3 in each hand. Excuse me. And notice that each hand is playing the same note at the same time, so we're in unison here. So we're going to play every note the same. We're going to play every rhythm right, except we're going to play the last beat of each measure for an extra beat. So this will be our quarter note. Let's try. Ready, and go. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold. Hold on. Okay. Now let's switch. Let's play it actually normal as written. We know what it feels like to have that extra beat, so now we just lop it off. Here is the sight reading normal as written. Ready, and go. And hold on. Good. So take about 5 more minutes. We've been here 39 minutes, so yeah, 5 will be perfect. And play through more of these that same way. Play it first time through, adding an extra beat in each measure. One of them is in 3/8, so be sure you're adding 1/8 note, because in 3/8, the 8th note gets 1 beat, not the quarter note. And then play normal as written, and just really get a sense of that. When we're focusing so much on playing a different instrument, reading multiple notes at the same time, it's very easy for the rhythm and the counting to go out of whack. And even if you're really great at rhythm and counting on your own instrument. So we just want to really check that. So go to the extreme, play it in 4, and then come back and play it normally. I'm going to cut the video off now, but keep going for 5 more minutes, and then you can start to file out in an orderly fashion, disinfect in an orderly fashion, if you don't mind. So, great. Have a good day, and I'll see you soon.